Today, we got a story time of a teacher who actually turns out to be pretty sus, like very sus. This is an incredibly crazy story that I know you'll enjoy. So sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new, leave a like on the video right now to claim your free nothing, and let's just get right into it. Let's go. So let's call a subscriber who submitted this story Avery. Anyways, right, so this all happened. This story came when Avery was in college. So this happened about a year ago. Anyway, so Avery was in college, and it was Avery's first year in college. And Avery was in this math class. And this math class was really hard, but for his major, it was a requirement to take Calculus 1. And, Avery was just not a math guy at all. And, unfortunately, there's a lot of degrees that aren't even math degrees that require you to take calculus or stats or something. So a lot of people who don't even want to do anything math related are required to get this degree. So anyways, right, Avery was like, all right, well, this is I'm just starting out college and I'm already starting off in a difficult class. It is what it is though. So anyways, right, in this class, so in the very beginning, from the very first day, Avery already knows that he's going to be in a little bit of trouble. The reason why Avery is going to be in a little bit of trouble is this math class is not just a requirement for his major, but it was also kind of like a weed out class for a lot of other competitive majors that a lot of other people wanted to do. What that means in a weed out class in college, if you guys don't know, colleges don't want everyone to be in one major because especially if it's popular, the thing is that they only have so many teachers, so they'll have some classes that are requirements for the major and they'll make them extra hard, unnecessarily hard, just to weed out all the people and make sure that there's not too many people in that major. So anyways, unfortunately, this class was also a weed out class. Anyways, though, so while Avery was in this class, he met this girl, and we're going to call this girl Ava. So anyways, Avery and Ava got off to a pretty good start because they were both in the, they immediately both went to the TA on the first week. So anyways, there was something called office hours where basically the TA or the TAs for the Calculus 1, whatever, that kind of class would basically allow people to come over, ask questions about whatever they wanted to. And immediately, Avery and Ava were there on week 1 because they were doing the basic, okay, let's think back to algebra. Kind of in the first couple weeks of math class, how you'll be doing stuff of oh, let's go back to algebra 2 and remember all the stuff we did then. They were already getting crushed in this, so they both showed up to the first TA week ever. And no one else in their 200-person class showed up. It was literally just Avery and Ava. So for that reason, they actually started to become friends. Completely platonic. There's no twist in this story where, the subscriber Avery starts to have feelings for Ava. That just doesn't happen. I mean, there's another twist. Don't get me wrong. There is another twist, and it's it's bad. It's bad. I don't know how else to say it. It's bad, guys. I just said chat. I'm too used to streaming. If you guys don't know, I stream every single day on YouTube, so make sure your notifications are on. But guys, the twist is bad. I just need you guys to lock in. Yeah, so anyways, though, so Avery and Ava become friends because they're both doing terrible in Calc 1 together. So, okay, let's skip forward a couple months, or no, not a couple months, at least a month. They're having their first major exam, and well, they're both doing pretty bad in the class. This isn't me hating on them or anything. This is just from what Avery has told me in Instagram DMs. Because by the way, to submit these stories, go to Instagram right now, look up Connor Pugs, and then send me a DM message with the story. Yeah, so anyways, it's their first major test that's coming up, and they're both deciding, okay, we're in kind of a bad situation. So they kind of have a study group together because they can't form a study group with random people in their class because probably if they find a random person in class, that person's going to be in a much better position than they are, and they're probably going to be like, hey, how are you guys doing so poorly? How is that even possible right now? So Avery and Ava decide to spend a lot of time studying together. Obviously, they go to the TA sessions or whatever, which... spoiler is about to be a big red flag. But anyways, right, so they're studying together, and Avery and Ava Avery is very clear, it is very clear to him that they are both on the same page. Completely screwed. They're both completely screwed. They're in a terrible situation right now. It's looking real bad is what I'm trying to say. Avery and Ava are both in a situation where it's looking we are going to get a 0% on this test. I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to spell my name correctly on this exam. You know what I mean? it's over. It's over. You know what I mean? So by the last day of studying, Ava and Avery take a practice exam because the teacher did give out a practice exam. However, they wanted to study as much as they could before they did the practice exam, just to see where they were. And Avery got a 28% and Ava got a 25%. So to say the least, they were both not looking great. They definitely weren't looking like they were killing it from the practice exams. And an important detail, a super important detail, right, is that they did the practice exams. And you guys might be thinking, why is this important detail? Well, pay attention because it is, right? They took the practice exams the night before the exam. So that means the time between Avery and Ava taking the practice exam was like, okay, they went to bed that night, they woke up the next morning, and then at 8 a.m. they took their Calculus 1 exam, right? They had literally no time in between taking the practice exam and doing the actual exam. So obviously they're not feeling so great going into that test. Or so Avery thought. Anyways, Avery gets to the test, sits down. It went about as well as he expected, which is not well. Yeah, so anyways, about a week later, they're sitting in class, and Avery and Ava are sitting next to each other. And, so the teacher walks around, or the teacher says, hey, class, I have basically finished your exams. I'm going to call you up one by one to get your exam. Super inefficient way of doing it, but whatever, that's just the way the teacher is doing it. So eventually Avery got his name called. He walks up to the front of the class, and yeah, it was not great. I mean, bro did better than he did on the practice exam, but 38% is definitely not the greatest score of all time. Like, one could argue that 38% is not the greatest score you could ever get, right? So anyways, Avery sits down, and then Ava's name is called a little bit later. And Ava's like, oh, how'd it go? And Avery's like, better than the practice exam, but definitely not good. And he showed her the 38%, right? So anyways, Ava goes up there, grabs her test, and Avery is like paying attention to like the expression that Ava's making on her face right now, because that's really gonna, like, he's trying to see, is her face like gonna go pale? Is like, well, what's her reaction? And she had a very straight-faced reaction, which, I mean, Avery at first was like, okay, whatever. She probably got around the same score as me, maybe a little worse, because she did a little worse on the practice exam. Maybe she did a little better, but I'm going to make the assumption that, well, she probably didn't do that good. So Ava sat down and quickly put her exam in her bag, right? So immediately Avery was like, oh, shoot, like, she must have done a lot worse than I thought, because look, if she got a 25 on the practice exam, she's not going to get like 100% on the final exam or the actual exam, because there's been no time. What I'm trying to say is, like, there's an important detail. There was no time in between, so it didn't make any sense at all. Anyways, though, so, I mean, Avery didn't want to press or anything. He didn't want to be like, oh, what did you get? What did you get? What did you get? Because that's always, like, so annoying, especially, like, whenever you take an exam or a test or a quiz or whatever, and you just don't do well, and everyone around you is like, oh, my God, what did you guys get? Let's compare our grades. Hey, man, I'm not trying to compare my grades right now because I'm embarrassed, you know what I mean? So I've always been, I always think it's a good idea to kind of like relax a little bit and maybe not be pressing into people's whatever all the time. Yeah, so anyways, right, sure enough, Avery's like, you know what, screw it. I'm not going to press Ava on this. I'm just going to let it slide. So a couple days later, though, they're learning something new in calculus, right? And Avery does kind of ask, oh, by the way, like, you don't have to tell me exactly how you did, but how did you do on, like, how that test go? Because they're already moving on to more material. And if you don't know, in calculus, a lot of times, what the material you did before is going to directly impact the material you do next. And Ava was like, it was okay. And, at this point, Avery was like, what? Like, okay? Because here's the thing. Avery wouldn't say his 37% was okay. Avery would say his 37% was better, right? It was better than his practice exam, but it definitely wasn't good. It definitely wasn't okay, right? You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't good. It wasn't okay. It was bad, but it was better. Better can still be bad. So he was kind of confused by this response. He was like, okay, better, whatever that means, right? And so Ava gets up to do something. I don't know why she leaves the room, but her math folder is on the table, right? So Avery is interested, and, maybe he shouldn't have done this. Maybe this was a little sneaky. Chat. I keep calling you guys chat. Remember, I stream every day on YouTube, so make sure your notifications are on. Anyways, guys, go in the comment section down below and tell me if this was sneaky or not. Let me know. So Avery, the math binder textbook type thing, whatever, folder, is sitting on the desk, and he sees like a packet of paper that's very clearly stapled together and is the exam. So he flips it open, or he flips it over to see what the grade was. Ava got a 100%. Okay, right, you guys might be immediately saying, well, maybe she studied more. Bro, did you not hear what I said? Do you not hear what I said? Remember, they took a practice exam 12 hours before their for real exam. Ava got a 25%. How are you recovering from a 25% to a 100% in that time period? Short answer, you're not. Yeah, so Avery's just sitting there completely like flat. I mean, bro doesn't know what to think because he's like, oh, 100%? Like that, okay, so he thought that, Ava was trying to be a little sneaky with her grade because she didn't want anyone to know how bad she did. She didn't want Avery to know how bad she did. But in fact, she was hiding back how well she did. So, it just makes no sense. You guys might be thinking, well, maybe Ava was learning on the side and felt bad that she knew a lot more than Avery, so she purposely bombed, the practice exam. And, well, maybe that was true. I mean, you'll learn in a second that's not actually the reason, but she just it's like she was consistently bad at everything. And look, so is Avery. This isn't a dig, right? Math isn't for everyone, bro. But the thing that was confusing was that, Avery and Ava had been studying, going to TA sessions all the time. If she was secretly really good, why would she spend all that time doing that? Right? It just makes no sense. Anyways, Ava comes back and they continue to study about whatever, right? And it just very clearly, she has no idea what's going on and Avery has no idea what's going on. So this is really confusing. And Avery thinks about this for literally another week straight. Okay, Avery isn't sitting there every second of his day being like, wow, how is Ava doing so well on that exam while being so bad at math, right? He isn't thinking about that every second of every minute of every day. However, it is occupying his mind. So, about a week later, TA session, Avery, Ava, they both show up as they always do. Some other kids show up too. Avery accidentally leaves his backpack in the TA room. And if you guys don't know, a lot of times teacher assistants, aka TAs, those are the people that grade the exams, especially when a teacher has a massive class with 200 people. It's normally given to the TAs to do the grading. So anyways, on this day, Avery leaves his backpack. He leaves his backpack in the TA office room, whatever, accidentally. Yeah, and so he walks back into the TA room, and he doesn't think to knock on the door, because he just maybe he should have knocked on the door, but he just walks right in. He walks right in to get his backpack. And what he sees explains everything. When he walks into the room, he sees Ava and the TA that grades all the exams doing some sus activities. They're doing some sus activities, bro. I don't want to go into it. I don't want YouTube to be mad. I don't want you guys to be like, ew, yeah, right? But you got to understand some sus activities. Mega sus. A huge sus moment right there. Bad. Spaghetti-o, right? And so immediately, Avery just freezes there. Ava freezes on the desk. The TA freezes standing above the desk. Don't make any assumptions. And they're all just looking at each other. And they're all just and at this point, right, it all made sense in Avery's head. He's like, that's why you got a 100. You just got exposed. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, I want you to comment teacher down below right now. Comment teacher, that'll be the secret word of the day. If you guys don't already know, I'm streaming every single day. So make sure that while you're subscribed, you also have the notifications on so that you'll receive a notification when I go live. And also, sometimes notifications do not send out. So make sure you follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Snapchat, Threads. All of those are at Connor Pugs. I will be posting on there when I go live, just so you guys can make sure that you always know. And yeah, with that being said, wow. Avery's just like, wow, okay. I see how it is. Like, I see how it is, right? Like, are you serious right now, bro? Like, are you serious? This is how you did it? Wow. So anyways, things are making a lot more sense for Avery. They're making a lot more sense. And the TA and Ava are just looking at him. And look, here's the thing, bro. Avery understands that, this is not his business, but it low-key is a little bit his business. You know what I mean? Like, it is a little bit his business at the end of the day, low-key. It's not totally his business. It's a little bit his business, right? So the TA, here's the thing, bro. The TA would be mega quadruple fired if anyone found out about this. Like, the TA would be in a very, 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 very bad position. So Avery also knows this. So Avery closes the door. And at this point, Ava and the TA, they got off their desk doing whatever they were doing. I'm not telling you. You guys can be sus in your own right, in your own minds, not in mine. Out of my Christian, no swearing, ABC, family-friendly YouTube channel. Get out of here. So Avery, okay, he does something a little devious, I'm not going to lie. Remember, disclaimer, maybe don't do this. I don't know. I'm not your parents. I'm just telling a story. So Avery basically says, look, if this gets found out, you guys are both in trouble, and especially Mr. TA, you're mega in trouble. You're probably like, here's the thing, bro. If you're a TA, you've spent a lot of time preparing, basically creating a career trajectory for you to become a teacher most of the time. Bro, this TA will never even touch anything in education ever again if this is found out. Straight up. That's just how it is right now. The TA knows this. And Avery knows that the TA knows this. So Avery's like, look, guys, you know what? I'm not going to, how about we help each other out? I won't say anything. I'll let this continue on. I'll let this slide. And also, not only will I not say anything, but I'll also squash the rumors if I hear anything. However, Mr. TA, if it's so easy for you to give Ava 100%, I'm going to have to start seeing some nice grades. And I get it. You can't give me 100 after giving me a 37, but give me an 80. Give me an 85. Give me a 90. My name is Avery. Then he said his last name. Remember that. Remember, give me a B and then give me an A from this point on, right? And if you do that for me, well, then I think we can figure this out. And the TA is like, I don't like being blackmailed like this. And Avery's like, well, I don't like you hooking up with the students like this, okay? And it kind of went silent. And Ava's just so awkwardly sitting there. And eventually the TA just is like, all right, you know what? Fine. Fair exchange of value. Fair enough. And with that being said, Avery received a B on his next test, and then an A on his next test, and then an A on his final exam. And Avery did pretty good in math while not knowing anything.